to explain a little further about this whole issue of sharing personal information and the act that came into effect today. So Alison Tilley is with us. She's a member of the Information Regulator. So Alison, we were talking about social media. I mean, this is a very big thing, and many people, the minute you get a photograph, you get so excited, you throw it on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and tag people, and there can be a lot of complications with regard to that, but I imagine from today there are even more implications. So talk to us about this now.
I think, as I was saying, with the sort of principles of dealing with personal information, one of the things you have to really think about is the context in which that information is collected. So if I'm a celebrity, I'm, outside a restaurant, a fan comes up, they want a photograph, I think we would all agree that it's implied in that selfie that will be posted on social media. You could, I guess, go as far as saying, do you mind if I post this on social media? But I think it's one of those situations where we understand that that's happening. Another context that comes up and has been the subject of a lot of controversy is demonstrations where the police are filming the demonstrators, and the demonstrators in turn are taking photographs of the police. And under those situations, both parties are in public. There's no question that on both sides, the police are entitled to photograph the protesters, and the protesters are entitled to photograph the police. So I think it's very context specific. The question I think you would just ask yourself is this a situation in which the person whose photograph you're taking would understand from the context that they are agreeing to the fact that they're in a public place and the photograph is being taken of them, or is it a situation where perhaps they're in a private setting and then you would really you would have to ask permission. So I'm afraid it's one of those sort of lawyerly answers where the answer is it depends. But I think, I think in general, the safest thing to do is to say to the person, do you mind if I take your photograph and put it on my Instagram feed?
Yeah, I imagine that would be the right thing. I even see with schools, because I know that this is it's a very sensitive subject, that you'll find that a lot of people do not want their children on social media, and you'll find that people will, there'll be a party and they'll just upload the entire photo library of the party onto social media, and there is a photograph of perhaps your child or you've never been asked for the permission. What happens in a case like that? We need people to be a lot more vigilant as to what they share and what they're allowed to share and what now is illegal. So, are there things people should keep in mind? Obviously, a celebrity outside a restaurant, we understand that, but, naively taking a photo of at your child's birthday party and posting it online.
So I think the processing of the personal information of children is a separate and special category. And in those instances, what you're looking at is getting the permission of the kind of the grown-up in charge. So whoever's taking care of the child in at that party, for example, would be the person to say, do you mind if I post some photographs from the party on Facebook or Twitter, and then to be sure that you respect those concerns, because it is true that the category of personal information about children is actually it's a special category by itself in the legislation, and there are more restrictions around processing that information.
What age does a child actually have the right to say, no, don't do that? When do you stop asking the guardian or the parent, and the child can say, I don't want to be on your Facebook page, Mom. I don't want to be on your Instagram. What age do they have the right to say that? Because, it's only fair. This is there forever.
Well, there was an interesting debate about that when this legislation was being written, because for so many platforms, they have children joining them when they are, 8, 9, 10. most of the platforms will take the view that, certainly one or two of them, that 13 is the relevant age for their purposes. For us in the legislation, we use the word child, and child is anybody under the age of 18. So if children, for example, are posting information on Facebook, that should be being done with the consent of the parent. I would respect the wishes of children in that regard, but as the parent, if you are the parent, you're still in charge, and you can theoretically say that you are going to post the information, but it doesn't sound like good parenting to me. So, yeah. But that's not a legal problem.
Yeah, indeed. There's still a lot of questions I'm seeing coming from viewers with regard to WhatsApp. So I know that, when you do create these groups, you need to ask people's permission to be a part of the group. Is that correct? The administrator needs to ask permission if you are forming and being part of a group, that you can put the information out there. Is that really the responsibility of an administrator on a group now? And then also, in that answer, perhaps, what is shared on these groups and the responsibility that falls on the administrator if somebody abuses the group for, the wrong reasons?
So there are a number of different ways of creating a group in WhatsApp. And one of them is, and you'll know this from when you suddenly discover that you're in a group for organizing Aunt Caroline's birthday party, or, some other event. The idea is that when you create a group, you should ask people's permission to join the group, or you can also so get permission for them to be on the group.
Yeah.
Once the group exists and there's personal information that's being sent to the group, you then need to be careful about what you do from there. Remember, ordinary processing by individuals, what you I suppose you would call household processing, sending somebody's information to a teacher or along those levels. The Act isn't intended to regulate that. The Act is intended to regulate taking large quantities of information. So the problem with WhatsApp isn't the people using WhatsApp, it's WhatsApp itself. It's using all of that metadata. And then that metadata is being used in order to create the algorithms that sell you things. So WhatsApp is in breach. And that's a far more important problem than, an occasional slip in a WhatsApp group. So yeah. The litigation that the regulator is contemplating is against WhatsApp as a data mining operation, effectively using your information in order to create an income stream.
And Facebook, because, that is possibly one of the biggest data mining information hubs. Where are we with Facebook? Because, in the days when Facebook was formed and everything was happening, we were sharing numbers and information and everything very naively. And then we actually have seen the implications with political parties and manipulation of people through these social media apps that we have running on our phone that we think are free but are anything but free, and all they're doing is mining information. Where are we with that?
So the regulator has taken a view that there is a problem in relation to both WhatsApp and Facebook, but more in particularly in relation to WhatsApp. We've had a number of engagements with WhatsApp in which we've tried to establish exactly on what basis they are processing personal information. The regulator has briefed a firm of attorneys in order to give us an opinion on the prospects of success in relation to litigation. But the other thing that we're also doing is reaching out to our global partners in relation to this issue and talking about what might be a collective response to WhatsApp. And I think that's something that's not going to happen quickly. You don't just get out of bed on a Monday morning and sue one of the biggest companies in the world. it is the size of a small country, and then you move on. You move together with your colleagues and your partners in that kind of work. So I think that's something that we're definitely looking at, because really that's really the problem. That's what the information regulator is created to deal with, is the mass processing of personal information and the abuse of that information in order to manipulate you into thinking and feeling and making decisions that you might well not have otherwise.
All right, let's leave it there. Alison, thank you so much for your time. I know that there is so much more we need to discuss, but I hope we've given viewers just a bit of food for thought this morning with regard to their protection of your personal information. It is so important. Alison Tilley is a member of the Information Regulator, and as you know, today comes into effect that Protection of Personal Information Act. Okay, so let's get your weather.